the words of my mouth and the meditation of all of our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O God, our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. Well, over the past 2 weeks, Anna and Judah have preached from Hebrews, and it's a bit of a stinker. And I fully intended to do that as well, but try as I might, I was continually drawn back to the Gospel reading. It challenged me, it encouraged me, and I was drawn into the story. It was almost as if I was there in that crowded synagogue. Luke, the Gospel writer, with his concern for women, the broken, the poor, the sick, the outcast, is the only Gospel writer who tells this story. The scene, gathered on the Sabbath, worshippers are listening intently as Jesus teaches. As he's teaching, a woman enters the synagogue. She's bent over, eyes to the ground, and she's been like this for 18 years. Jesus calls her over to him, he touches her, he heals her, and in doing so he incurs the wrath of the synagogue leader. And as I entered the story, I was captivated by the three main characters: the bent-over woman, Jesus, and the leader of the synagogue. So the woman. I call her the woman because we aren't told her name. All we are told is that she was bent over. She has no name. She's labelled and identified by her appearance. And I wonder if you can identify with her. She's everyone who's ever struggled to rise above the burden of low self-esteem and the judgment of others. She's everyone who's struggled with sickness, addiction, loss of innocence. She's every one of us who's been brought low in life. And she enters the synagogue as Jesus is already teaching. I wonder, was her late arrival because walking anywhere was a long and tiring task, taking considerable effort, determination and time? Or was her late arrival because she wanted to just slip in and not be noticed? I can't even begin to imagine what life is like for her, having to twist your head around to glimpse the sky, the stars, the sun, people's faces. She'd have been in considerable pain, bent over double. She'd been having difficulty to breathe. She couldn't take a deep breath. She would have felt tired, vulnerable, isolated and alone. And Luke doesn't tell us why she's bent over, apart from saying that a spirit had crippled her, leaving us space to reflect on what it is that can weigh us down, burden us, bend us over. Perhaps it's a physical ailment like the woman in our gospel story. Perhaps it's anxiety or depression. Perhaps it's shame or guilt over something we've done, or anger over something that somebody else has done. Maybe it's a keenly felt disappointment. Maybe just plain weariness, money worries, the inability to meet our goals or live up to the expectation of others. I wonder, are we weighed down and bent over by the labels and judgments that others have placed on us? And perhaps, like the woman in our story this morning, we've been bent over for a long, long time, and we've given up any hope of ever being able to stand up tall again. But the truth is that whatever burden we carry, whatever is weighing us down, there is hope, there is release, and there is freedom through Christ. He promises to make us all free. Because God can lift that crippling weight from our shoulders so that we can stand up tall again, so that we can take a deep breath once again and lift our eyes from the dirt and the dust. But it isn't an easy process though, because sometimes the burdens that we carry are hard to let go of. Old resentments, long-held guilt, heavy grief. We can tend sometimes to cling to our burdens because they've been part of us for so long that we're not really sure who we'd be without them. And like the woman in the story this morning, we have come to church week after week without any expectation of leaving here any different from how we were when we arrived. Yet just like in the synagogue all those years ago, Jesus is here. He's here to heal us and lift the heavy burdens that weigh us down. Jesus wants to set us free no matter how broken and weighed down and bent over we feel. Because like the woman in the story, no matter how much we try to hide, no matter how much we feel that we are unseen, Jesus sees us, he calls us, and his desire is to set us free. And so moving on to Jesus. Jesus looks out across the crowd as he's teaching, and he sees the woman. She would have been so easy to overlook as she was bent over. He could easily have looked out across the crowd and not seen her, but he does. And he stops his teaching, he calls her to come forward, and then reaching out and touching her, he sets her free from whatever it is that has been weighing her down. Because Jesus sees not only a bent over woman, he sees a person to be loved and to be cherished. He restores her identity. He gives her a new name. He calls her a daughter of Abraham. In front of the upright synagogue leader, Jesus gives this humble woman a place of honour that affirmed her identity. For the first time in 18 long years, this daughter of Abraham straightened her back and stood to her full height, standing tall amongst the sons of Abraham, some of which I'm sure were hanging their heads in shame. I wonder, do we see like Jesus? Do we see the broken, the bent over, the hurting? Do we really see them? Our communities are full of those who are suffering in silence and obscurity, who need to be seen, to be loved, and to be healed. Jesus is calling us to see others with eyes of love and compassion, and to become instruments of healing, of hope, of mercy, of justice, and of grace. And I wonder, like Jesus, are we prepared to kneel down in the dirt and the dust as we look into the eyes of the broken, the bowed down and hurting? Are we prepared to speak words of hope and healing? Are we prepared to have our plans interrupted? Are we prepared to stop what we're doing because we notice those who are hurting? And do we see those standing on the edges of society and invite them and welcome them into the heart of our community, into our homes, into our friendship groups? Do we help them to stand tall and see themselves as the beloved children of God that they really, truly are? And then to the synagogue leader. The synagogue leader was angry. His objection was not to the healing itself, rather it was to its timing. Because in healing the woman on the Sabbath, he argues that Jesus has broken the Sabbath law. And this leads to a bit of a debate about whether healing on the Sabbath is prohibiting work or not. Is healing deemed to be work? One tradition links Sabbath to the creation account in Genesis, where God rests on the seventh day from all work, and concludes therefore that we should all rest from work on the Sabbath. But another tradition links the Sabbath to the Exodus. That is, it links Sabbath to a different kind of rest. It means freedom, liberty, release from bondage, captivity, as the Israelites had been from the oppression when they were in Egypt under Pharaoh's cruel rule. And I think that this is the tradition Jesus is tapping into. Jesus lives and God lives that we live lives into abundance. He especially wants that for those of us who are weighed down and burdened. But in the synagogue leader's defense, the command to keep the Sabbath holy is at the very heart of Judaism. It's central to it. It's what sets them apart. It's part of their identity as the people of God. And by not honouring the Sabbath, the religious leader believed that they were violating who they were in relation to God and others. He's afraid that if one law is broken, then other laws will be broken, and then other laws will be broken, and things will get out of control. But his interpretation blinds him to the miracle that has taken place in front of him. I wonder what your understanding of Sabbath is. I wonder, should we take it more seriously? Is it about keeping rules? fulfilling the letter of the law. And I wonder, what do you, what do I need to be set free from? Are we slaves to work, to emails, to fashion, to praise, to money? Do we need to take time to set apart time to be still and to be rest? Because Jesus states in Mark's Gospel that the Sabbath is made for man, not man for the Sabbath. Sabbath is God's gift to us of rest and release, of renewal, restoration and recreation. And I wonder how many of us really know and live in the reality of that truth. And if Sabbath isn't something that we do observe, I wonder, is it possible that, like the leader of the synagogue, there are other rules that we observe to prevent us living in the rest and freedom that is ours in and through Christ? I think it's worth noting, and it's important to remember, that Jesus doesn't abandon or abolish the law. Rather, he offers a different interpretation of it. In today's Gospel reading, we've been invited to welcome Sabbath freedom, not like the synagogue leader with scorn, anger and resentment, but like the blessed daughter of Abraham, with praise, with joy, with thanks, as she stands forth and follows Christ. And my prayer for each and every one of us in the coming days and weeks is that where we are bent over and weighed down, that we will find the healing, the freedom and release that is ours. That is one of the benefits that James was talking about in Christ. I pray that we will have the courage and the humility to see others as Jesus does, as people of value and significance. Because in doing so, we might just become a window through which they see Christ for themselves. And I pray too that we will learn to honour the Sabbath in whatever way and shape and form that takes for us. And that as we walk in the freedom that only Christ can bring, I pray that like the daughter of Abraham, our mouths will be full of praise to God. Amen. Amen.